in 7th grade, I ended up having to relocate with my mom to a different city. She no longer had the financial means to continue paying the tuition for my private school, so I had to go to a public school where I was the outcast. I was the person now that was a complete stranger who didn't know anybody. And it was a really difficult time, right? Because it was two significant changes in my life. Personally at home, having this different dynamic that I had to get used to, and having just only my mother home there, for me, and then going to school, not having any type of friends. And then I ended up getting bullied, because, kids will be kids. I ended up, having a crush on this girl, and other kids, I guess, found out that I was crushing on this girl, so they decided to prank me, having me call these other random people thinking that it was this girl. And then when I went to school, then people would start making fun of me. So it was a really difficult time. And I remember begging my mom, understanding we were having some financial challenges, but pleading with her to please let me at least, for my 8th grade year, the following year, to return back to my private school that I, where I was well liked. And so she made it work. She made it work. And so I was able to, graduate from junior high school from the 8th grade, from this private school. And it was just having to have that experience where for the first time, I really experienced a lot of bullying, right? And then comes 9th grade, a year after, I graduate. I'm now in high school, a freshman. Same thing is happening. I'm now new to this high school because most of the kids there were from surrounding public schools. And here I was, one of the people from this other private school where I knew basically nobody. And so the cycle kind of repeated itself. Had to undergo more bullying, having to be that outcast. So I think that's when, for my sophomore year, for my 10th grade year in high school, that's when I started, thinking to myself, I needed to really start standing up for myself, even if it meant making friends that, in hindsight, looking back, were not necessarily the best group of people that I should have been friends with, but just really wanting to kind of have some type of protection, no longer being alone, no longer being that kid that was constantly being bullied, right? And so it was around that time that I started getting myself in a bit of trouble, but then things really just avalanched right after my brother's diagnosis, where I found myself getting in more and more trouble, staying away from home as often as I possibly could, because I just felt there wasn't anything for me at home. So during these most difficult, I guess academic years that I underwent, I've always been so curious as to why I didn't receive any type of support or guidance from my teachers or from my counselor. How was it that a student goes from being an A and B student on average, now having plummeting grades, mostly C's and D's, some F's, and no one, talking to me, calling me into their office to say, hey, we noticed that there has been a huge, decline in your achievements, academically. So what's going on? Is everything okay at home in your communities? No one had those conversations with me. And even to this day, I always look back and just wonder about how my life may have been different if maybe someone had approached me during those years.